everyone, I'm TJB Chris. Welcome back to the channel. Tonight we're doing part 3 in the TRS-80 Model 12 card cage saga. It's been almost 2 weeks since I've been able to do any work on this, and it has been frustratingly annoying. I've been kind of pulling my hair out. But as you remember from my last video, I had some equipment problems with the 3D printer, and I sent away for parts. And the manufacturer of the more fragile part of the two that I ordered decided not to pack it in anything but a bag and tape it to the outside of the box of another item that I had ordered, allowing FedEx, and then wrapping that in a bag, allowing FedEx to destroy the part and just smash it around, which they summarily did, and the part got destroyed. And as you can imagine, Anycubic, like a lot of these 3D printer companies, aren't exactly big operations, they aren't exactly local, and they aren't exactly the best in tech support. So that's a rigmarole as it is. In the meantime, I thought this is a great opportunity to try one of the 3D printing houses. So I sent an order into CraftCloud. I mentioned them in my video last time and the price that I was going to go for. CraftCloud got it bid out, the vendor printed it and shipped it to me. The USPS picked it up December 9th. Priority mail, so it should have been in here in 1 to 3 days. It is now December 14th and it's still in Louisiana, lost in the mail. It's still moving through the network, says the post office. We just don't know when it'll arrive. Thanks. I mean, I get that it's the Christmas season. I don't want to be too tough on the post office, but just figures, you know. So, regardless, that part's not here, but in the meantime, my 3D printing woes have been dealt with. So I was able to print these new parts with my fixes. So I will go through this time what I changed, just as a quick refresher, and then we're going to see if they fit better. And then currently printing, the top is currently in the printer now, so I'm going to use the last top, but this will be a good indicator to make sure that the holes on the top actually match up. So let's take a look at the new part and exactly what I did. Alright, the first part we have here, I haven't had this on the channel in a while, whiskey. You know what? I'm either going to need to celebrate or I'm going to need to drown my tears, so whiskey. I haven't had it on the channel lately. I've been doing a lot of this in the morning, and that's not exactly whiskey time. Anyway, let's take a look at the left side. That's where a lot of work was needed. So you can see it's nice and smoothly printed. I don't know if you can see this on the camera. Yes, you can. I've elongated these holes to provide some adjustment. Now, if I have to, I will make them a little longer. But what I did was made myself a cutout part that I can just use to drop into this. So I can just make it wider or narrower if I want. I won't have to go too crazy. As long as I keep the center in the same place, I'll be fine, and you know, that'll be pretty much it. Similarly, on the top here, I increased the diameter of these holes ever so slightly, about 1/4 millimeter, just to give me some additional room. And for the fan holes, I have increased the diameter again about 1/4 millimeter, just enough to give me some more wiggle room. And actually, let's try that out right now. Let's see. In the last video, you might have remembered there was some force needed to get the screw in, and now look at that, smooth in and out action. Okay, I didn't mean that like that, but that's, yeah, whatever, double entendre, woohoo. Anyway, it slides in there quite nice, so this should give us the flexibility needed. We're going to mount the fan to it and find out. The next thing I did was I widened these a bit, so when we go to mount it into the chassis, we should see in the Model 12, I widened these. And finally, I increased the depth of the holes for the PCB mounts. I don't know if you can see those. Lights down here is terrible. I'm sorry, this is my basement. I've been trying different things with the light, but I might just have to cave and buy some, you know, decent lights. Anyway, so the problem I was having was these would fit in, but they wouldn't sink all the way. They wouldn't go all the way down, so they would stick out a little bit. And if there was any anomaly in the print, you know, then it would just not be good. So let's see if I can get this in there now and if it works. Okay, that's good. Ooh, going in easier. Oh yeah, look at that. And if I give it a little bit, there we go. Oh yeah, I don't know if you can see that. That's nice and flush. Look at that. They go all the way. I added about 1/2 millimeter of depth to these holes, and I figured that would give me room for whatever the little, like the 1/10 or 1/4 I was off here, but also some little extra for some PLA schmutz. On to the right side here. This is the right side. It sits like this, so chassis, top, backplane. You can see here I've elongated these holes just like I did the other ones. This should give you some lateral movement, so if you need to go side to side, let's say you move the left side over, you can move the right side over to compensate if your slot PCB guides aren't going to grip well enough. I didn't really change these holes at all. I also, as I did with the other side, elongated these slots. Actually, you could see it better that way. so that we have some playroom in terms of where these screws mount to the backplane. Also on both, I did marginally increase the diameter of these just to make it easier to get the screws in. And actually, I did the same with the top, and that, much easier. The screws go in and out much easier. You need to leave a little more tolerance, and that's the thing I'm learning with plastic here is, you know, if you try to get dead on balls accurate, it's an industry toy, then it's not going to work. So that's it. And these I didn't adjust the PCB guide mounts, so they should be just fine. The top is the old top. I've actually shrunk this down by about 6 millimeters. This is 6 meters. Once again, with me with the meters. This is 261 millimeters across. I've shrunk it down to 255. And the reason for this is because I want it to be able to fit on the plethora of printers that have 256 by 256 build area. So, and honestly, this was really just to make it look like it lined up better with the edge of the cage, and it was close anyway. So it's decorative, it doesn't do anything. I can slice this down the middle and make it so you could glue it, but I hesitate to do that because it's really meant to stop that, provide some side-to-side rigidity to, you know, avoid like torsional force. Is that a word, torsional? Torsion? If it's not, I just made it up. And I'm afraid that using glue down the middle or any other supports will make it a weak point. So I realize that still limits who can print it. A lot of 3D printers don't even go up to 256, but whatever. And I apologize if you hear the sound in the background. The printer is at it as we speak. Now let's get the backplane out of the Model 12 and we'll attach it to the back of this. We won't attach the top yet. And then we'll use a card to fit the video card to see if I've got the fit on the bottom. And one note when you're installing these and with this, you want to get the bottom screw aligned and tightened before you put it in the machine as best you can, because you can't reach it from within the machine once it's installed. These three you can get on both sides. So that's the plan. First thing up though, we're going to do the PCB guides. And there we have it. And this side snapped in a little harder, which is not unexpected. This one printed a little differently. Printed okay, but this definitely snapped in. Everything's flush, and I'm really happy about that. The right side snapped in a little easier, but they're all nice and in there. You can see that. All right, let's grab the backplane and see what we can do here. All right, so what I'm going to do here is grab one of these screws, run it through the backplane here. Can you see that on camera? Yeah, I have a tendency to not look at the camera. I'm going to run it through the hole here, so we can line it up. And then I'm going to see if I can thread this. Now, those of you like me with fingers that don't play nice, I understand this is not ideal. I hope this gives me what I need. This looks like it could be useful. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to put this on the bench, spread this all the way out, and I'm going to shoot the video card into the slot. You can see, I just knocked the cable down, that we are in a spot where pretty much... Oh, well, I'm not lined up with that one, so that's not going to be good. Make sure you're lined up with the guides. And we are. Okay, the card is in. So here's what I'm going to do. With the card in, I'm going to attempt to tighten just the bottom screw. This is going to take some finagling. I got my thumb on the nut. That doesn't sound good, but it has to be done. Okay. And now, this guy here. Okay. Now, the bottom should be fairly done. We're not going to have some movement, but it should line up. And actually, I'm pretty happy with it. So, What I'm going to do now is remove the video card. Ugh, Jesus. Hope I didn't. Okay, and I'm going to put it in the top slot. Making sure that my card guides are aligned. In it goes. And then I'm going to try for the spot, the nuts just under the card, because I'm not going to be able to get those top ones. I'm trying not to put pressure on it because I don't want to make it grab the card too hard. Okay, that one's tight. The beauty of this is I can adjust it later if I have to. Okay, there we go. Let's see if we can remove this less rigmarole this time. And there we go. Okay, and we should line up if I try to push it back in. Now you're gonna have some rigidity because the thing's not in the machine yet. But at the bottom is where it matters the most. It slides nice, it seems to line up. Same goes with the bottom. We'll check our fitment, and again, the outside edges aren't the problem. And we'll check it even more when we get in there, but that looks better. So let's put the video card away. Knock everything over in the process. And let's mount it into the machine. Now to mount it in the machine, I'm going to try something a little different. I'm going to take 2 of the chassis screws, and I'm actually going to pre-start them, because that was the whole point. And one of the things you're going to notice with this is for Model 12s where these side screws have never been used, because it's likely that 2 of these screw holes have never been used, they're going to be hard to start. And if you're trying to start them through plastic, it's not going to be fun, in addition to the metal. So I'm going to just try and get them in here. I've used them before, but this is easier. Only get them just far enough in so that they grab and they won't fall out on you. And I think that's pretty much where we are. Nothing on the right side. And now I'm going to line this up with the slot. And I'm going to try and push this down. Did I get you? I appear to have. Now. Perfect. Okay, I don't know if you can see that, but we're going to take a look here. All right, there we are. It slid right over them. And if I look inside, sorry, shadows and things, but it's lined right up. I really need better lighting down here. And now let's deal with this side. All right, and I mentioned that cutout I left. And I left it for this. This is the ground. Get my screen where I can see it. So this has a screw go through it, and I thought, well, what better way to do this than make it so you can slide it right in here like this and attach it like that. I'm going to just roll this in. That might be a little too thick, so if that's the case. Okay, I don't want to tighten that though, because if we need to move it, we need to make sure that we have some adjustment room. And we're going to put one in here, and I'll leave the one in the back for now. But it looks like it should line up enough, so. Okay, we grabbed, ooh, okay, there we go. I have a little wiggle room. Okay, now let's see how the video card fits. And I'm going to see if I can turn this a little bit so the light shines in there so you can better see. All right, here we go. Let's see how it fits. We're going to start with the bottom slot. And if I'm happy, ooh. Oh. Very good. Much better, not grabbing. I'm getting the cable on the bottom here a little bit. But that's nice. And actually, I think I like that right where it is. So I'm going to use this opportunity to tighten this screw down. And we'll loosen them again if we need, but look at that. Okay. Now the top's going to have some play to it, but before I put it together, I want to make sure that it fits. That is better. It lines up with the slot. One of the things I forgot to mention, I also adjusted these slots down, the right side guides down just a little bit. So that's excellent. And so let's do this. I'm going to loosen this just a little bit here. It's just a little tight. So I'm going to loosen one of these just a hair. I'm going to put this back in, and we're going to make it so it's nice. I'm going to... Oh, yeah. I got to tell you, folks, I'm pretty happy with myself with this sliding guide design here. I'm going to tighten you up. I'll pull you out. This could be very nice. It's going to help you trim out some of the irregularities in your machines because they're all not going to be exactly the same. I've run into that just in the ones that I have. Okay, let's try this now, and I'll show you how close they fit. I'll bring the camera over top slot again. Look at that. Next slot down. Same deal. Oh. You know, this is one of those things. I know last time I was saying it was you could call it good enough, but it wasn't good enough for me because it would have put too much pressure on the cards. This was well worth the effort. Let me just show you how well worth it this effort was. All right, so I'm going to take this, and I'm doing this one-handed, so hoping I can line it up. There we go. So we're in the guides, slides real smooth, and look at this. It lines right up, no fuss, no muss. This honestly could be an After Dark video with all this back and forth action here. And let's try the top slot, shall we? I'll zoom this out so you can see better. Oop, if I can get it in. I'm doing this a little crooked. Actually, then I've got this good, so it's perfect. Look at this. Lines right up. Bites right into the slot. And the thing is, you can move it left or right. You can trim it out just with the screws. So I think I'm going to attach the top and see if it behaves the same. But this is very good. I'm really excited with how this is sitting right now. All right, we've affixed the top. I've tightened it down. This just gives me some torsional rigidity here. I love that word, torsion. I always think of garage doors, torsion springs. Anyway, let's try this out. So, like a glove, like it was meant to be there, middle slot. Little leeway in the slot, not too much. Nice bite on the card guides, top slot. And this was one that always gave us some trouble. And it's got just a little more into it. If I have to, I could loosen this and tighten it out, but I mean, it lines right up, it grabs real nice. This is pretty effing good, if I do say so myself. I'm really happy with all the changes I made. So, where does that leave us? Well, let's talk about that. So, what about the fan? Let's mount the fan on the side and see how this works out. And I'm going to try and keep my arms out of the shot as much as possible, but hey, what can I do? But as I mentioned earlier, the screw holes have a larger diameter, so the screws fit very nicely. So let's just make sure my airflow is pointed in the right direction, not that this is going to be permanent. And we'll just slide this one in. The first one's always the easiest. And there we go. All right, I'm going to hold that in. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the one right next to it, line it up, and try and slide that through. Ooh, yeah, slides right in. And this is where it should be easier. It gets right to the other end. I have the room to finagle it. And what I'm going to do here, actually, is just attach a couple of the nuts just a little bit. Now, this barely fits, and you could probably get a screw that terminates back here, just comes out an inch or so. Your local hardware store, whether color-themed big box or otherwise, will probably have what you need. And now let's see how it goes in the bottom two screws here. So let's drop this guy in, and now these should just kind of line up. I have to look at this and make sure I'm lined up with the hole. Oh, there we go. And it's a little tighter, but actually, oh, nope, it's pretty good. Just with the angle I had it. Last time I did this when I was test fitting it, I did it diagonally on the previous card cage, and that's probably what I should have done this time. Let's pull the video card out. And finally, last screw. All right through like butter. And like butter. And I just threw the nut. Riveting television, folks, isn't it? The internet is such a rich tapestry of content. And then we'll just take my screwdriver here, and I probably, these nuts probably won't turn, so I should just be able to tighten this down. And the fan should be last. You might find it easier to do it first, but I find it weighs down the one side of the cage and actually complicates life a little bit. So, and like I said, if you wanted to go to your favorite color-themed big box home improvement store, or more preferably your local hardware store if you have one of those that is not color themed. You could probably take one of these, put it in one of the little screw fitter things they've got, and use the same nuts and shorten these out. But this does, at least with this fan, this does fit, and it's on there very nicely. Full disclosure, this actually got filmed later, so when you see me at the end celebrating and the fan's not on the side, that's because I wasn't paying attention to the fact that I was so excited that I skipped over the fan. But in the meantime, the other top finished printing, it looks good. There's enough room for the screw holes. I widened them even a little more. So I think, and in kind of putting it on top here, the holes all line up as they should. So honestly, yeah, I think we're good. I think this is going to do it. My name printed really nice on this. I don't know if you can see that. Come on there, camera. Get it. Yep, no, nothing like it. Whatever. So the card cage came out great, and that's pretty much where we are. So where does that leave us? Well, it leaves us with a card cage that I think is good enough. Or as Weird Al Yankovic would say, good enough for now. You're sort of everything I've ever wanted. You're not perfect, but you're good enough for now. And that's not to say I'm not happy with this. I'm thrilled with this. I can't believe how well it came out. I can't believe how well it fits. I'm just ecstatic that this went from a dream in my head to a thing that I made. So honestly, first real project. This is great. And I hope that it's useful for those of you in the community. I originally made this so that it would be my project so I could use that backplane I sniped off of eBay about 8 months ago. And shortly after I started the project, there was some news. I intimated in the first video that there may be a wider audience for this, and in my last video, a few folks left comments asking if I was going to design a backplane. I do not have any board design experience, and my electronics experience as it is self-taught and has many gaps. And many of you graciously offered either your time or to put me in touch with other folks who could do it. Fortunately, that is not a handle we have to pull. My friends over at Tandy Emeritus, the group of former engineers from Tandy Corp, now working together in the community to create hardware, especially for the models 2, 12, and 16. You may remember them from such projects as the 8 meg SRAM memory upgrade for the Model 16 line, the MMU extension for the Model 16 line to use all 8 megs as user LAN memory, the real-time clock add-on for the Model 16, and Xenix 3.4 with enhancements for all of those projects and more, in addition to other things. They've also given many great talks at Tandy Assembly, and I highly recommend you check them out. My friends at Tandy Emeritus are in the process of designing and building a backplane, and they've given me permission to mention it here, especially given the conversation after my last video. I'm not a part of that project other than they've been watching the cage and helping me along with the cage, and thank you for that. I've had some great advice and help and some sketches for things when my brain wasn't understanding the words that were coming at me. So I really appreciate that. It's very helpful and got me to completion on this so that they have an option that can be used to mount cards into their new backplane. And I don't have details on when it will be available. From what I know at this point, it will be a build-it-yourself operation. I know that's a high bar for many of you. That is the price of admission, at least as it stands. I guess you could probably find somebody or pay somebody to assemble it for you, but it ain't gonna be me. So that said, it's still the fact that that's even available, and in Tandy Emeritus fashion, it's going to have some enhancements to it. It's got additional bus expansion connectors for bus expansion beyond the card slots, and it has LEDs, because everything is better if it beeps or blinks or both. And you're talking to a guy who added the LEDs onto the MMU, the 8 meg SRAM upgrade, because they were there and I wanted to see which banks were active, and I like lights and things. So that's where we are with that. There may also be another alternative to this. I don't want to go too far on that. It's not my project, but there's been some rumblings that there might also be alternatives. So regardless if there are 1 or 2 card cage solutions, in the last 2 months we've gone from 0 to 2, and I'm very happy about that. Now, I was going to do the electrical connections in this video. I have all of the parts, but I'm missing the crimper tool, which, just like my fabbed card cage, is lost in the mail. I expect it now here. It has a delivery date, at least the card cage parts don't, of Monday. So hopefully we can get to that. So there will be a part 4, but we're done revising this unless folks use it, run into problems with it, and things like that. And honestly, that might be a while, but it is finagleable enough now to work. And that's the thing. This is good enough. And it's good enough for me. The last one was not, this one is, and it is good enough for now. If there are major adjustments that need to be made, obviously we'll make them. As the backplane becomes more of a thing, there will probably be an assembly video for this that shows you better how to actually assemble it and give you some tips, because fat fingering these screws does actually kind of suck. And there is an order to it that helps. For those of you who, I kind of told people hold off on getting these fabbed at 3D printing houses, I would tell you you're probably safe to do that, but if you hold off, I will address the prefabbed ones that I had shipped, assuming they ever arrive. I have 2 coming, so we'll see how those go. But this is celebratory whiskey. I like celebratory whiskey way better. Bourbon. So cheers to a successful card cage project, to the upcoming backplane from Tandy Emeritus, and unneutering a whole bunch of TRS-80 Model 12s. Join me next time when we do part 4, electrical connections, and hopefully that's it. Until then, I'll see you next time. That's the taste of victory right there. Victory. Thanks for watching.